Hello and welcome to Legends of the Wind. I'm Jurri Schenck. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's an exciting day. We had a crazy scheduling hang-up with our apps that we use for bringing guests in, and we actually have 3 shows today, which I've never done that way before. And I could not reschedule any of our guests because they would have to wait a month or more to be rebooked. So I put my nose to the grindstone and I asked for the stories for the people. And so I'm really excited because it all worked out. Everything is here. Everything is ready. And so welcome to the show. Now, for those of you who are new, I want you to try to imagine that there's a magical library in the heavenly realms. And in that library contains books, magical books, with stories written about you and me. And, they don't have to be like true life storytelling. They could be fantasy, they could be action, adventure, mystery, love story, any kind of genre. Now, but these are stories written about you and me. If you knew that there were stories written about you, wouldn't you want to know what story you're in? Wouldn't you want to discover what the hidden treasures are contained in this magical library that are meant just for you? And that's what we do here at Legends of the Wind. I can get downloads from this library, and I can deliver to you these prophetic stories that will be able to build you up, strengthen you, encourage you. They will deal with real tough issues, but they will end well, and it will help you know what to do with your life, help you with your identity and with your destiny, and can push you forward into your future so that you can finish your parable. And that's how these stories work. Every story is very different. Every person, every guest is different. And I want you to know that this is a safe place to be strengthened and encouraged and empowered by knowing your story. So welcome to the show. Now, the question for today's show is, what price are you willing to pay for the approval of others? I want you to be thinking about that and pondering it for a little bit. Now, we had our previous broadcast earlier this week on Monday with our good friend Linda, and her story was difficult. It was difficult because her situation in real life was difficult. And I was tapping into some sort of lightning storm that was about to sink some ships. And she was the keeper of a lighthouse. And she wanted to send signals to save the lives of many ships and their passengers. And it turns out that her husband has a health issue. And so she's been taking care of him. And Linda ended up becoming so encouraged by this story that even though it dealt with some tough things, it ended well, and it gave her the sense that there is a reward for her and her sacrifice, her perseverance, and that the suffering of helping others is worth it. So go back and check out our previous episode with Linda. Also, check out our other episodes. Everyone is so great that's coming on our show. I'm so blessed to meet everybody, to get to know people and deliver their stories. So check out our previous episodes. Now, if you want to have your own story, if you want to order a story from me, from Legends of the Wind, go to the legendsofthewind.com website, look for the store or shop, and look for the product called Become a Legend. And there you can order a story. Now, right now, typically, the story costs $250, but we are getting our feet on the ground, and we're giving a 60% discount at this time. So the price for you to order a story is $99. You're going to receive a creative work from me, which uses my time and my talent and my creative ability along with my prophetic gifting to create a portrait for you in a story form. Now, if you do order a story, there are a couple agreements that we need to have. One is a release so that you can appear on a podcast where I deliver it to you live for the first time. And the other agreement is simply a publishing agreement where you give us permission to publish your story and other things as well. And then also you need to schedule with us a showtime so that you can join us on the program and invite your friends and family. So don't forget about the process. It's really important. One of the things we want to talk about is our book, Legends of the Wind, Volume 1. This contains 20 prophetic stories that I wrote for children and adults. Now, just because these stories were written for someone else does not mean that you will not benefit from the revelations and hidden treasures inside these stories. One friend just yesterday told me that there's an amazing world, a world view that is hidden in these stories. And they will empower you and strengthen you and give you hope. So go to Amazon for this book or go to our website Legends of the Wind. You can find all of our products there. One final product we want to highlight is my wife, Alisha does illustrations for your story. It's a single print for you. You can be softbound and hardbound. And my wife will paint a painting for you, and you can order a single print of your story from us with that illustration. You can find that at our website as well. So welcome to the show. That's all the business stuff that we have to work out. I'm super excited about today's show. Today's story, The Candle in the Wind, is a very unique story. And I want to bring in the guest who's receiving it. Her name is Nicole Stanley. So just a second here. Nicole, how are you?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for ordering a story. Thank you for being part of Legends of the Wind.
You're welcome.
You're about to become a legend today. Now, can you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself to what you're doing and what's going on in your life?
Sure. My name is Nikkoly Stanley, like you mentioned, and I am a wife to my high school sweetheart of 28 years, and we have 5 amazing daughters and 3 grandchildren. And I'm a biofeedback practitioner and do stress management and help people with detoxification.
Wow.
I love gardening and outdoor life, and we moved from Washington State to Tennessee in December, so everything has pretty much changed for us. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for coming on the show. And, I think that your journey of healing and helping people heal is going to be really tied into your story. So I think that you will be encouraged and everything. So let me ask you a question. How did you find out about us, and why did you order a story?
Well, my friend Marcia told me about you and that she'd met you in Wyoming and really encouraged me to do this. So that's how I'm here.
Cool. And you said earlier, or before the show started, did you get to watch any previous episodes? I forget what you said.
I'm sorry, I have not. No.
Oh.
So. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Everything's fine. I think that later you'll be able to watch your replay of your show today, and also for others. So Marcia has been really stellar on bringing in new people across our path. So Marcia, thank you. She says, "Hello, peeps. Happy Thursday." Marcia, my wife Alisha and daughter Kylie say hi, Marcia, and Lisa says hi, Jurri and all. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for watching us today. Now, we have a little saying here. Nikkoly, do you know what time it is? It's story time.
Do I know what time it is? It's story time, yeah.
There we go.
Sounds right.
Okay, so now one of the things I want you to understand is that these stories are not meant to be taken literally. These are symbolic. They contain hidden treasures and meaning inside them. So when you listen to the story and you experience it, you see it in your imagination, you feel the emotions, just know that it's meant to be interpreted. And so part of the process is that the story is a revelation. And then our conversation afterward is more of an interpretation where you and I get to unpack what are the hidden treasures and how it relates to your actual life. And also the chat can also chime in as well. And then after that, we get to discuss potentially the application about what does it mean for your life and what you should do with it. Now, you have a choice, Nikkoly, for this story. You can say, yes, I accept this story, or no, I do not. Or you can say parts of it you accept and some that you do not. And then also, you may need time. You may need to process this story later and let it soak or marinate in your heart. But I want you to know that there's a lot of freedom here, and so you don't have to be afraid or nervous. And I want you to know that we're here to help you and encourage you and let you discover your story. Okay?
Thank you. Okay.
All right, let's get into it. So your story is titled, The Candle in the Wind. It was a dark night and time for the ceremony to begin. The initiation to join her peers and welcome Nikkoly into the sorority. The party's location was top secret and high in the mountains. Nikkoly's friends laughed and giggled as they put the blindfold over her eyes and then bound her wrists with some tape while they drove in the van. "Ouch, that's too tight," complained Nikkoly. "Shh," said one of her friends. "It won't be long. We're almost there." "Where is it?" asked Nikkoly. All the girls in the van just snickered. Then another one said, "This is so much fun." The challenge Nikkoly faced was breaking her heart. She needed wisdom, but that seemed absent or far away. The cry inside of her was tearing her apart. What she wanted was the approval of those around her. All of Nikkoly's girlfriends weren't trying to be mean to her. However, they were taking things too far. When they left the campus and drove into the mountains, Nikkoly had such a good time with her friends. The girls tried to stay lighthearted, even though there were surprises to come. Nikkoly wanted just to get through the night and become an official friend. But the tasks of the initiation frightened her, and so did the fear of them rejecting her if she were to fail. As the van pulled up to the campsite, the other vehicle's passengers already were out and about. One girl had already lit up the bonfire. The flames reached into the sky, lighting up the many faces of the girls surrounding it, trying to keep warm. "Are we spending the night?" asked one. "It depends on her," replied another, referring to the blindfolded Nikkoly. "Bring her forth." Two girls brought Nikkoly through the logs and brush on the ground and presented her to the sorority gang. The chapter president, Amanda, donned an ornate headpiece that reminded you of Wonder Woman or a Norse goddess, silly looking. Amanda called out, "Who is this woman who seeks membership?" The girl standing next to Nikkoly nudged her in the ribs and whispered, "That's you." Nikkoly realized it was her turn to speak and cleared her throat. She replied, "Me, Nikkoly, I'm here to join you." The girls all giggled and twittered with excitement. The president pulled out a scroll and held it open with both hands. She said, "What makes you worthy enough to become a member? Are you noble? Are you pure? How have you served others? Tell us your qualifications." Nikkoly grinned a nervous smile and thought for a moment. She replied, "I know all of your ladies' hearts. I have heard your cries and your pain. I have shared in your joy and been there for all your events. I've studied hard and passed all of your tests. All of your members know me well." Amanda, the chapter president, replied, "Ah, you have not passed all the tests. There's still one more that remains. Girls, bring her closer to the fire." The two young college girls guided Nikkoly forward. She could feel the great heat from the flames. Amanda came closer and said, "Remove the bindings from her wrist." One girl took a knife and cut the tape. Nikkoly massaged her wrists and flexed her hands and arms. Amanda then brought forth a large candlestick that was supported by a stand with a handle. She lit the wick in the flames, and soon it burned bright. Amanda spoke with authority and said, "You are to go into the forest in all darkness and find your way to the cliff and ignite all 3 candlesticks, each one representing our organization's letters, Chi Theta Alpha. But you must go blindfolded and not let your candlestick flame go out. We will guide you with our cries, but be careful, you could stumble and fall. When you are near the stand of the three candlesticks, a bell will ring. Then you must stop. All of this blindfolded. If you succeed, you are a member, but if you fail, then you must go home alone." Nikkoly inhaled a deep breath, and her mind raced with worries. She wondered how in the world would she accomplish this task. Amanda asked, "Do you accept the challenge?" Nikkoly nodded her head and replied, "Yes, but how are you going to guide me?" All the girls laughed. One said, "Make sure your candle doesn't lose its flames." Nikkoly's candle wax had already dripped down and spilled onto the handle. Its flame was still lit, even though the wind was blowing. Nikkoly shivered, and she wished for a better task. Amanda said, "The test begins now." Suddenly the girls jumped up and ran in different directions, crying out. They spread through the forest and hid behind trees and bushes. Nikkoly walked forward, holding her candle, and entered the trees. As she traveled, a girl off to the right and far away cried out. Nikkoly went in her direction and moved about 20 feet. Next, another girl cried out a hoot, but she was far off to the left and was about 30 feet away, so Nikkoly went in her cry's direction. Nikkoly was confused, and she stumbled among the branches and bushes on the forest floor. Her candle's flame flickered. "Oh," cried Nikkoly, can someone help me?" She regained her balance and footing and tried to figure out where the last cry came from. Nikkoly moved on. As she stepped and walked, there was complete silence. The wind blew, and Nikkoly wondered where she was and where she was about to go. "Guys? Hello?" In a sudden flash, two young girls ran past Nikkoly in opposite directions, hooting and calling out. They both cried out the same thing. Follow me! Follow me! Hoot, hoot, hoot! Nikkoly froze, standing still, confused. How can these friends of hers do such a horrible thing and misdirect her? Fear and worry filled her soul, but she took a deep breath and walked back in the same direction as before. Courage stirred in her heart, and Nikkoly gained confidence. She marched forward in the darkness, blindfolded and numb by the cold. No matter what, she was determined to pass the test. She would not allow herself to lose, even though the wind might blow out her candle at any moment. Nikkoly did her best to block the flame from the breeze while she traveled. The sorority girls hooting and hollering sounded off in the distance about 50 feet away. They were in a group and all held candles in their hands, even though Nikkoly couldn't see them. Nikkoly moved toward the sound of the gaggle and said, Am I near the cliff? A cry from far off behind her said, I am the cliff. Nikkoly stopped in her tracks and turned around. She moved away from the group of girls and went towards the cliff. The ground was no longer soft dirt with bushes and twigs all around. It was hard rock. Nikkoly came out of the forest with no more trees to protect her from the wind. Small gusts of breeze blew across Nikkoly's body and made her shiver. The wind almost blew her flame out. Hoo-hoot! Hoo-hoot! A cry from the left. Nikkoly turned and walked toward it. Guys, this isn't fun anymore. A bell rang. Nikkoly stopped just at the edge of the cliff. Her foot kicked some pebbles off and they fell far, far below. Nikkoly gasped and she realized she'd almost fell off the cliff of the edge of this precipice. With tender care, she stepped backward and turned toward the sound of the bell rang. In front of Nikkoly was the stand with 3 candlesticks. President Amanda with the crown stood by. Surrounding her were all the young members with candles in hands. They watched Nikkoly come to the stand. There was no sound, only the whisper of the breeze. Nikkoly's hand hit the 3rd candle and the stand wobbled. Next, she felt with her hand the stand and moved to feel the 3 branches. With a slow, determined hand, Nikkoly took her faint flame and lit the Chi Theta Alpha candlesticks. As soon as all 3 lamps were ablaze, the girls burst into cheer. Amanda hugged Nikkoly and removed her blindfold. Nikkoly couldn't believe she passed the test and grinned cheek to cheek. It was over. Nikkoly wasn't sure if the tests she would face would harm her or bring her shame. Her relationships with all the girls was so valuable to her. The goal of keeping her flame alive was the most challenging thing she faced, especially because she was blind while doing it. All the cries and hollers alarmed her. The misdirections also brought her great confusion. Sometimes she didn't understand why these things kept happening, and even though the path brought her to the edge, her heart kept the light alive. Nikkoly finally felt connected to her friends. Her desire for approval and to please others dissolved away. She realized all she needed was to be herself. Inceptio.
That's awesome.
Yay. Well, I'm hoping that there's something that's picking up here in the story, but I also know that with all my guests, doing these stories, it's like drinking from a fire hose of revelation. So right. I don't know how emotional you're feeling right now. I can see your eyes. I don't know if you're teared up, but I want you to know that as you go through and we just talk about this, that this is just something we unpack together. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. And we have some comments on the chat. Marcia says, wow, I'm amazed knowing what I know about this last year. And Alisha and Kylie say, can't wait to hear what Nikkoly will say. So where would you like to begin? Is there anything in this story that is the first thing that sticks out to you in some way?
Oh, well, there's several things. I guess what I find the most interesting is my journey with Christ began before I went to college. And I was going to join a sorority, actually, and he told me not to. Oh. And I was all about being popular and important and all of those things in high school. And he told me my path was going to be different than that. And so I chose not to do sorority, but I ended up finding myself in a cult, a religious cult, a Christian cult.
Wow.
And I had, of course, I learned a lot of beneficial things. I can look back now and see that that was a big piece of who I have become and how much I've learned. And I did have very valuable friendships, and there were lots of voices telling me to go here and there and everywhere. So, I mean, there's a lot through this story that I can completely resonate with.
Wow.
About the call on my life, not to seek man's approval, but God's approval, and that my path would be very different than my friends, but I could still love and care for them. I mean, there's more to that, I'm thinking, but
sure.
That's just as what initially has popped into my head.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, being part of a unhealthy spiritual or religious system can really mess people up. I've had my share of experience with that as well. So I can identify on some level what you're talking about. What about the scenario here? That the quest of your story is that you're blind. You're blindfolded. And that you're seeking something, and then it seems like a lot of misdirection. Can you, how does that specific kind of scenario in this story, what is about that in your life? Is there anything there that resonates?
Oh, absolutely. I really, my whole walk with the Lord has been about faith. Like I've never been able to see. I might be able to sense. I might be able to know in part, but most of my journey has been by faith. And I think the misdirections are just so true. Like I have learned so many things from all the misdirections. Like every misdirection, I think God used for good and ended up showing me why I decided to go that direction and what I needed to learn. And then I would go back another direction, because really I'm just trying to seek how to follow him in spirit and truth and not follow what everyone else says I should be doing. And so in doing that, though, I think sometimes you get, or I've gotten misdirected quite a few times. And I think all of it has just led me. I really like that cliff part, because in my mind, Jesus Christ is the rock. And I just feel like I got led to the rock, and it's a sure foundation, and he's not going to let my foot slip or stumble. I'm not going to fall, that he's got me and he's going to carry me to the end of my journey. I just need to stay true to what to walk by faith, no matter what.
Right. That's beautiful. So when it talks about there's the candle you're holding, right? The wind could blow it out. Then you also have a purpose for the candle, which is to light someone else's candle. I know that's very symbolic and metaphorical. How would that be part of your journey?
Well, I think there's been lots of attempts to blow my candle out. Actually, literally, I faced death. So I think there's been many attempts to just blow that thing right out. And actually the word determined, that I would pass and that I would win. I tell myself that a lot, that I will win the race set before me, and that when he returns, that he'd find faith in me. And so I have a very determined heart to win the race before me. So that really resonated with me quite profoundly. So yeah, I'm sorry, I lost track.
That's okay. Now I have something to say in case you don't have an answer, but does the name Amanda mean anything to you?
Well, I've only in my life, I've had some clients named Amanda. I've only had one friend named Amanda. And when you said Wonder Woman, that's kind of funny, because she's I used to call her the Amazon woman. And she was very strong, but I mean, I other than that, no, I can't.
Okay.
I can't.
That's okay. I actually looked up the meaning of the name Amanda.
Okay.
So before I give the meaning, think about what your story is telling you. Think about the quest that you've been given in the story. Think about the misdirection, the blindness, the many female relationships that are causing you trouble. And yet you want to light the candles to become part of their community. The name Amanda means worthy of love.
Wow.
And so the one who's in charge of your initiation is saying you are worthy of love, Nikkoly.
Wow.
So I don't see the sorority in the story here as a negative thing. I think it's a definitely resonating with you about misdirection and walking in blindness. But the one in charge is Amanda. And Amanda is worthy of love. And she's trying to help you get to the place you need to be to light the hearts and the flames of others. So I think that that's, I would say, a faithful interpretation. Because sometimes in these stories, a name doesn't mean like it's an actual person in the guest's life.
Sure.
There could be a meaning behind a name of a person or place. So Marcia's chiming in again. She says, I really love your flame never went out. You kept your flame burning through it, and that's true to who you are. And then I think she wrote again, I love that your flame kept burning. You have done that so well, kept it burning through so many things. Beautiful. And then Lisa says, yes, follow in spirit and truth. He is our rock. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I was just like everybody who doesn't seen me before, have I ever contacted you or interviewed you? No, I don't know anything about you.
That's what my husband asked. I'm like, no, it's not like you even ask leading questions at all.
No, but the story, I don't know, I think I got this story over 3 days. I got interrupted so many times because of...
That makes sense.
And the misdirection, right? The running to the... I lived your story.
I'm sorry.
It's funny. But the thing is, there was a lot of opposition for me getting your story. And a lot of heartache for me on my end. But the thing is, I'm here to encourage you. And so people who've never seen me before and never heard of Prophetic Story, I don't interview people. I don't research people. If I have a relationship with them already, what I do is I just simply say, this is who they are. I set them aside and I go and look. I go and look and seek out what is the story. But typically I like to deal with people I've never met before. Now, it's scary for me, right? It's like I'm going out on a limb. But fortunately, I have not missed it. Thank the Lord. So, what else in your story here kind of clicks with you?
There's so much. So
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So in college, I was really, because I got saved, and I feel like I had a radical salvation because I was definitely living in the world and for the world, and God interrupted that. And after my freshman year in college, I just wanted to know what my purpose was. And so he actually asked me to meet him in a wheat field in Montana on my way to visit my dad in Great Falls. And in that wheat field, I'm not sure if I heard an audible voice, but it sure seemed like it to me. And what I heard was, love my people. And I was so mad. I know that sounds terrible, but I was so mad. I wanted some great purpose. I wanted to, be a missionary somewhere or do this or do that. I just, in my little immature mind, I just thought there should be a more glorious thing for me to do. And then, of course, through the years, it's the greatest call. Like, loving people is the greatest call. It's hard to love people sometimes. And I think a lot of the reasons why I've had so much misdirection, and I have tons of incredible female friends, and some of us have gone through literal hell together to be friends.
Wow.
And I think all of these misdirections and all of these things all comes back to, can I forgive and can I love? And how crucial those are. And so in every single instance, it's come back to forgiveness and love. And I think I still have a lot to learn, but it's been a lot of years now, and I've learned a lot about loving people, loving even my enemies. Really, that love is the greatest. So to me, like you said something about, I didn't get the exact words. I can't wait to listen to it again, but it was like, that's the call in my life. Like, I knew their hearts, something about I knew their hearts.
Yeah, I can go back to that real quick. So let's see here. You said, I know all of your ladies' hearts. I have heard your cries and your pain. I have shared in your joy and been there for all your events. I've studied hard and passed all your tests. All of your members know me well.
Yes, right there. Like that is, I think, something that I do know people I feel like I see people through God's eyes. And I see what they can't, and I see what other people can't. And I can sit with them and joy with them in sadness. Compassion, we learn compassion. And so I've had a lot of hard knocks, but I've learned about compassion as a result. And so women come to me a lot, and they tell me things that they don't ever tell anybody else. And because, them, like genuinely,
Yeah. Nikkoly, we're having a connection problem right now. So will you do me
a thunderstorm here.
Oh, is it?
There's a thunderstorm here.
Okay. Hopefully,
not sure what to do.
Let's just stay as we are. Then hopefully it'll go past. But I think myself and the audience understood what you were saying essentially. So, I mean, thank you for your perseverance with your women friends and all being there for all of them. Marcia also says,
yeah, of course.
Oh, Nikkoly, you love people so well. You love people who feel unlovable. You love those who are misunderstood. You love those who want to reject love and those who joyfully receive love. And Lisa says, very, very crucial, love and forgiveness. Wow. And you said you were taking notes, right? What else is on your notes that you'd like to talk about your story?
A lot of them. The cries. They're all being in different places and carrying out different cries. And I tend to think about this today, about how much God has taught me about testing the cries. Actually, those are the words he used with me, was testing the cries. That some cries are from a place of authenticity and some are for distraction. That's literally what he shared with me today before this.
Wow, really?
So that really stood out to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you heard before today's show.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, you heard before today's show that about him talking to you about cries. That's amazing.
So that really, really stood out, and just how they can be deceptive and distracting, and they have to be tested, which was interesting because then there was silence, and then there were the two girls, one going one way and one going the other way, and I wasn't sure which one to follow.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times in my life that's happened. Yeah, countless times.
Wow.
Even between friends, that's happened. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
and then the other one was that something about harm and shame. I don't remember exactly the words that were used there. I was worried about it or something about something coming to harm or shame, and that's something I do have issues with.
Yes.
But I didn't get the rest of that written down.
That's okay. I think that's near the end. Hold on a second. Nikkoly wasn't sure if the test she would face would harm her or bring her shame. Her relationships with all the girls were so valuable to her. The goal of her keeping her flame alive was the most challenging thing she faced, especially because she was blind while doing it.
Yeah, so I would say that's true. I often wonder those things. Those are the words I would use too. Wow. So that really stood out to me too. And the be yourself, that's kind of been I guess I've always been myself, but I tried for a long time to just be accepted by other people. And I don't know if I'm getting too old or I don't know what it is, but I don't have enough energy to try to be something that I'm not. So I liked that too.
Wow. Now, we spent some time unpacking the interpretation of your story. Let's move on to application. Okay. What do you think you should do with this story? Like the message or the ideas or the treasures hidden in it? Like, do you need more time, or do you want to? Well, how would you apply it?
I think honestly, I'll be spending some time with this for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, first off, just looking at it, I really am directed to the cliff, to tell you the truth. And that the distractions, and I can actually think of many of what those are, that I feel like today I kind of got an answer, like I don't need to be distracted by those cries anymore. I just need to go to the cliff, and I just need to stand on the cliff and trust that I'm not going to fall off, that he won't let me fall off.
Wow.
Like that's the first one that comes to mind.
Wow.
I mean, there's several things stirring, but I don't know if I can actually articulate them into
That's okay.
what I do to apply.
Wow. There's a movie, I think I remember if it's a Matrix movie or something, one of the sequels, but there's a saying, he says, it's only when you come to the edge of the precipice do you find the will to change. And it seems like you are being brought there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that.
Yeah. Oh, did I lose her?
I've been feeling if I would have used in the cliff, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it's encouraging for you while you're being brought to the edge of the precipice is that you're on the rock and you're not alone. And the one who's rang the bell, I don't know if it's in the story necessarily, but is Amanda.
Bell, yes.
Is Amanda. And Amanda's name means worthy of love. And I think that the lesson for you to take away, at least one of the things, is that when you're brought to the edge of yourself, you find yourself on the rock, and you are in the presence of someone who says you are worthy of love.
That's really good.
That makes sense. That's really the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. And then that's what this story is about. This story definitely hits home on the hard stuff, right? But it ends well. It ends well. It gives you a sense of peace and hope at the end. And there's a healthy, good resolution for you. And that the past of the religious abuse of the cult, the women giving you grief, you end up where you need to be in the end. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So, anybody else in the chat want to ask a question or make further comments? I know that Marcia and Lisa have been speaking a lot. Lisa says, and Marcia says, that's something you tell others. Be yourself. And Lisa says, I am seeing crucial and crucifix in new light. It is like something just hit me between the eyes. Wow. Lisa's getting revelation from our conversation and from your story. That's great.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that you want to try to unpack that's hitting your heart, or do we want to move on to something else?
I think I just have to, I'm a thinker. One thing I am curious of is what Chi Theta Alpha means.
I don't know. I Googled it myself. I found that there was a Christian college in Texas on Instagram that has the same name. I don't have an interpretation, to be very honest. I don't have a meaning. I'm not trying to say that this story is a representation of someone in actual true life or an actual sorority.
Right.
But I just kind of heard those Greek letters. And
well, that has a lot of meaning to me because I'm a words person.
Yeah.
And I like to research in the Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic.
Okay,
so that's
good.
right up my alley.
Well, then that's something you can go digging in, you know?
Yeah.
And by the way, get back with me about that. Like, email me and go, hey, I discovered X, Y, and Z, or Chi Theta Alpha, whatever.
Sure, right.
And see, because you see, that's the beautiful thing about these stories, that they have lots of treasures and hidden things in them. You know, the Bible says that it is the glory of God to conceal a matter. It is the glory of kings to search a matter out. And I would say queens as well. And so when someone is searching a matter out, guess what? They get to discover their royalty. And God wants to hide us from our royalty so we discover our royalty. And that's the genius of his ability to bring revelation. And so that's something that's really important for you. Dennis said, your husband, Dennis?
Yes.
Says Christian sorority and fraternity. Wow. Well, that's cool. Well, there's something there for you there. Go looking, go dig.
Yeah, I'm going to dig into what each of those little words means, and the three candlesticks. I think that's something I definitely connect with. So,
I know in Hebrew letters are actually like pictograms, and so they have each letter tells a story with the image. I know that sometimes Greek can do that, so maybe the 3 letters are not actually a sorority. Maybe the 3 letters are a sentence of 3 words.
That's what I think.
So go let me know what you find.
Okay.
That would be great. Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You've never seen a show before. You've never met me before. You've never had a prophetic story ever given to you.
No.
What would you tell someone else about what we're doing? Like, how would you encourage others to order a story? Like, what would you recommend?
Well, I would definitely share my experience. I'm not one of those people that really I just share my experience and let people come to their own conclusions, but I would certainly share it. I think it's been a positive experience, certainly reaffirming to several things I'm currently been looking at, and certainly things that resonate to the story of my life for sure.
Great. Well, great. I'm glad. That's the whole point, is we want to be able to touch people's hearts and help them discover their story. So if those of you in the audience, before I go into that, so Marcia and Dennis are saying, 3 candlesticks means something. Be sure to let me know. And Dennis says the coat of arms has a candle on it. Dennis, is the coat of arms part of that fraternity, Chi Theta Alpha? Let me know. That's interesting that there's a candle on it. It's kind of cool.
Right?
Wow. So for those of you who are watching and you've never seen this before, this is prophetic storytelling. This is about creating a work of art, a portrait in a story for people to discover their identity and destiny. And now if you want to have your own story, you want me to write you a story, go to legendsofthewind.com and go to our store and look for Become a Legend and order a story there. We are giving a 60% discount on them, and right now the price is $99. This is a creative work. This is not a church thing. This is not a ministry thing. This is a creative painting for you to discover who you are in a story form, and that you will be able to keep this forever as something that heaven's speaking to you that way. And so I highly recommend you go get an order and get a story, because you will discover amazing things. And then Dennis says, yes, Chi Theta Alpha, the coat of arms, has a candle on it.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. I didn't know that.
That's cool.
I only found their Instagram group in Texas. Cool. So just so you know, we are on shows on Mondays and sometimes on Thursdays. And by the way, we have 2 more shows today, a couple hours from now. So if you go to Legends of the Wind on YouTube, you can find the other shows. So if you have the time and you're able, stick around later today and tonight to watch the other 2 shows. Those 2 stories coming up are very different, very powerful and encouraging. I would highly recommend, if you can, watch tonight as well, and also this afternoon. So Nikkoly, did you have a good time?
I did. This was really, really great. Thank you.
Great. Well, it's wonderful to meet you, and I'm so glad to meet Marcia's friends and everything.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
Yeah. So if you guys are in the audience, want to reach out to me, I can be found at support@legendsofthewind.com. Nikkoly, do you have any final thoughts? Anything else you want to say?
Not really. I'm just kind of blown away, so it'll take me some time to recover.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, like I said before, it's like drinking from a fire hose. So
Right.
yeah, it's all good. But I want to thank you for being my guest. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
entrusting me to give you your story and letting us help you find out what you're going to do with your life from right now. And I will point you to your future where you can finish your parable. So everyone, thanks for joining us today. See us on our next 2 broadcasts later today, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Nikkoly. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks
guys.
again. Bye.
See you soon.